What is up everyone, this is Tom, welcome back to another video. In this one, what we'll be looking at is a really cool transition that is using a really cheap piece of equipment. This is a light prism. It's about a $10, about an £8 piece of equipment. What this is gonna let you do is really morph the image that is coming out of your camera, and you can use that to create a really cool prism sort of transition effect. It works particularly well if you've got lots of shallow depth of field, lots of light in the background of your image. You saw it in the intro of this video, so let's jump into After Effects and I will show you how it works. So these are the two clips that I'm going to be working with here. We have this sort of this clip here, and you can see my swipe across with the prism, and I have a bit of a time remap in here as well just to slow this down. This was originally shot in 100 frames a second, so I'm swiping across and I've slowed that that movement down. You can do it sort of real time. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. And then we're going to want to transition onto this image here of my girlfriend taking a photo on her phone. So there's a couple of things to note here. First of all, what we're transitioning between is two images that are sort of relatively similar in sort of visual feel and exposure and that type of thing. It's not going to work too well if you have two clips that are sort of really drastically different from each other. You obviously will be able to do the effect, but it is really going to just not look nearly as good as if you're doing it. As you can see, I'm going to be transitioning here between this sort of purple with this shot with the same ISO, the same f-stop, and this sort of blue image here. But it means that the feel isn't going to feel too drastically different, which will obviously help your visual story. And the next thing that is important is obviously the movement of the prism itself. You're going to want to get as close as you kind of can to the lens of your camera without sort of backing up into it. So you just give it a quick swipe across, and you can go back and forward a few times to make sure that you've got it. Try a few different paces because you never know which one is going to work well in the edit. You can even give it a little rotation halfway through. That will really help the feel as well. So once you've got that image, and it will look something like this. Obviously this situation was really perfect for me because we're transitioning between that these two pretty shallow depth of field images. There's a lot of light going on. It's going to look really effective because of all those sort of light balls in the background. But how this is accomplished is all accomplished with masks. So what we're going to do is we've got our two layers here. So we're going to drag our second layer on top of our first layer. And what we want is that to start appearing when the prism starts coming into view. So what we're going to do now is we're going to zoom out of our composition and we're going to create a mask. So that's done with the pen tool, and we're just creating a big sort of matte that will gradually reveal the image at the same pace as the prism. So at this stage, what we want to do is we want to keyframe the position of this mask. So we drop down into our settings over here, and we're going to click mask path, and then we can drag this sort of over this sort of position here. So then what we're going to want to do is start gradually moving this mask across in line with the prism. So as you can see, we're just moving it in line with how far the prism transition is along. And we might need to adjust the position of this as we go a bit, but it will slowly and surely start that wipe across and eventually finish it off. It doesn't matter totally if it's not completely in line, because what we're going to be doing is feathering this off to make it look much more realistic. But as you can see, we will have, I'm just going to extend this slightly and position that off canvas. So we will have a transition that wipes across just like that. However, obviously this is looking pretty awful at the moment, so we can zoom in on that. We obviously don't want that final image to look so harsh, so how we fix this is we feather this off. Be able to see the transition, and it looks far more realistic. A bit like this is actually really wiping the new scene on underneath. I'm going to adjust this ever so slightly because I don't think that is far enough. If you've got a lot of sort of visual elements in the scene, a bit like I have here, you might just you're going to want to play around with this to find the best settings for your composition. So there we go. So it is a really, really simple transition. What I'm actually going to do as well though is just add an opacity on here. So I'm going to bring in the second frame at about 30% opacity, and then we will increase that gradually as the transition occurs. It will just help with the feel, help with it feeling a lot more natural. And then at the end, it's probably not as smooth as I would like, so we're going to bring up our keyframes again, U to bring up all available keyframes, and then we're going to bring this off just a bit faster. And that should look pretty decent. So let's render that out. But as you can see, that's looking much more in line with how I want that to look. There we have it, guys. That is a really easy transition that you can incorporate into your videos. It's important that that is used really in the right type of situation, because it's not a one-size-fits-all transition. In this type of scene that I've obviously shot that intro sequence in, it was really, really appropriate. It really helped with all of the lights. It just looked absolutely gorgeous. But there's tons of ways a really simple piece of equipment like this Prism can dramatically enhance your videos. They are super simple to pick up, so I will link them in the description down below. Let me know if this video was useful. I'd love to see some of your examples of using it in your own videos. And if you'd like a video going over a few other ways that you can use a Prism in your creative work or other accessories, just let me know down below in the comments, and I will catch you next time.